I can't stand the sight of you. Stay out of my life unless it's absolutely necessary. Mother-in-law's harsh words were relentlessly thrown at me. You might not even be able to have kids. Why didn't he choose a younger wife? Sure, I'm older than my husband, but that's a cruel way to put it. And I do want children eventually. Who knows what the future holds? Understood. With that, I quietly backed down. Nothing more I say would make my in-laws listen. I wouldn't get involved even if they begged me. From now on, it's none of my business. I had long decided to stay away from my in-laws. Today just happened to be the day. That's all. My name is Michelle, and I turned 30 this year. My husband Joseph is 4 years younger at 26. We are celebrating our second year of marriage. We both work at a diversified multinational corporation. I'm in administration and Joseph is in sales planning. When Joseph joined the company after graduating from college, we started dating while working together in the product planning team I was a part of. Our company isn't strictly against office romance, but we nurtured our love secretly, mindful of not letting our private life affect our work. Wow, Michelle and Joseph are dating? That's a bit surprising. The shock of our colleagues when we went public with our relationship as the new product plan was taking off. Probably, no one imagined I would date someone younger. At that time, I was a team leader, a dedicated worker, maybe a bit unapproachable. But Joseph later told me he liked my caring nature and strong personality. One day after about 3 years of dating, Joseph proposed on our way home from overtime work. Would you marry me? After a moment of silence, I came to my senses, nodded, and said yes. I want Michelle. I can't imagine being with anyone else. I was captivated by Joseph's earnest gaze. Later, we had a family meeting with both our parents. My parents said, Michelle always focused on work like a tomboy, but getting married, huh? Mom said with a surprised smile, and Dad continued. Joseph, she's good at taking care, but she's headstrong. It might be tough, you know. Just don't let her take over too much. Take good care of our daughter. His words, half joking, lightened the mood. But in contrast, when we greeted Joseph's parents, especially his mother Olivia, she seemed displeased with me being older. There must be plenty of younger girls at the company, right? Out of all people, a woman almost 30, she said with obvious disdain. Despite that, I thought being sincere in our relationship would be enough. But I realized after getting married that I was wrong. We didn't want a flashy wedding, so we planned a modest ceremony with close family members. My parents said, It's your decision. We have no say in it. But Olivia seemed worried. I'll tolerate my only son marrying a 30-year-old woman, but we need a reception for our business clients. Joseph's father, Robert, added, We have a reputation to uphold. We need to introduce his wife to the world. It was disrespectful. I thought, to speak that way about your son's fiancée who came to greet you. Isn't there a better way to say this? I secretly wondered. Joseph's parents run a small food distribution business for businesses. Robert founded the company, and Olivia handles the accounting, managing about 10 employees. They have many long-standing business partners. Due to the current recession, the food industry has been struggling, and they seem to be planning to use our wedding reception as a networking opportunity for their business. When Joseph firmly refused, saying, My marriage has nothing to do with Dad's business. I don't want it even if you pay, Olivia retorted, looking at me with disdain. He used to be such a good, obedient boy. Who made him this rebellious, I wonder? Was she implying it was my fault? We're not children anymore. Anyway, Dad, Mom, it's our new beginning, so please support us, Joseph said brightly, trying to dispel the growing tension. But on our wedding day, my parents and close friends gathered at the chapel we had booked, but Joseph's parents never showed up. I remembered their attitude during the family meeting and felt uneasy. Joseph, also worried, called the company and Olivia answered. We know nothing about such a ceremony. Do it yourself. We're too busy with work here. I could hear her voice leaking through the phone. Joseph, after hanging up the phone, said to me with disappointment,
It seems my parents have really taken offense. But everyone else is here. Let's start the ceremony.
When I asked, "Are you sure? Just like this?" Yosef replied,
It's okay. I haven't been on the best terms with my parents. I'm an only son, but I didn't take over Dad's company, which was also a reason. Don't worry about it.
He said this, considering my feelings. My mom, concerned, came over and asked, "What happened to Yosef's parents? Is something wrong?" I quickly said, "Oh, some urgent business came up. They couldn't make it. Company stuff. You know, it's tough." We completed the ceremony with Yosef's parents, seats empty, returning to our apartment with mixed feelings.
We have to go to my parents' house tomorrow and talk properly. This is just unacceptable.
Yosef bit his lip, a mix of frustration and sadness in his expression. Not attending their son's wedding at the last minute? It's too much. Is this also my fault? I feel indescribably sad. The next morning, Yosef and I headed to his parents' house. When we pressed the doorbell, Olivia's voice came from inside.
"Okay, just wait, I'll open it."
Opening the door.
"What? You two? What do you want so early in the morning?"
Olivia appeared, frowning. Yosef confronted her.
We told you long ago we'd have a simple ceremony. You said you'd come. Isn't it shameful to cancel at the last minute as adults?
Olivia retorted.
You two went ahead with the wedding on your own. We haven't given our consent yet.
Glaring at me.
We did inform you about our marriage, right? We're not kids. It's not about whether you approve or not. I feel sorry towards Michelle's parents.
Yosef argued back. Olivia then turned to me.
That older, charmless woman there. I don't recognize her as my son's wife.
She yelled unbelievably.
You've completely wrapped my only son around your finger. I can't stand to look at you. Stay away from us except for absolute necessities, and don't contact us.
Olivia spat out one after another. What have I done? Did I really do something to be hated this much? My mind was in chaos. Turning to Yosef, Olivia shouted.
And you! There must have been younger girls who could have children. Why on earth did you choose a 30-year-old woman like her?
Is being young and likely to bear children the only reason? Isn't that also an insult to Yosef for choosing me? Yosef exclaimed,
Mom, that's too much. It's cruel. Apologize to Michelle.
But Olivia yelled back,
If you're going to side with her, then don't come back here. Understand?
It felt useless to say anything more. Understood, I conveyed to Olivia. Taking Yosef's arm, I said, We will live our lives together. We won't involve ourselves with you anymore, so please don't contact us either. Let's go. Yosef? As we turned away from his parents' house, the sound of the door slamming shut echoed behind us. Despite saying to stay out of touch, Olivia occasionally called Yosef's mobile phone, asking about children or telling him to leave me. Yosef, concerned for me, never mentioned it, but I could tell when Olivia had contacted him because he would become noticeably upset. Eventually, Yosef blocked her calls, and he stopped being in a bad mood. A year passed, and we entered our second year of marriage. On my 30th birthday, Yosef and I splurged on a dinner for two. We hadn't yet been blessed with children, but both being busy with work, we hadn't had the chance to think about having kids.
This is a present. I hope you like it.
Opening the case Yosef handed me, inside was a charmingly designed ring. It's beautiful! Thank you! Do you think I still suit such a cute ring? I tried on the ring, holding up my hand.
It suits you. Looks like the size is perfect too. I was a bit unsure, but I'm glad.
Yosef blushed, looking embarrassed.
Actually, I have something to discuss,
he said seriously. What is it? You sound so formal all of a sudden, I asked, laughing.
I'm thinking of quitting my current job to start my own business. What do you think, Michelle?
I was taken aback by Yosef's sudden confession. Is something wrong with your current job? I asked, worried. Although we worked at the same company, we were in different departments.
so I didn't know much about his work. It didn't seem like work was the issue.
I'm satisfied with my job, but I feel like something's missing. Once I thought about it, I wanted to try what I've always dreamed of.
Yosef continued earnestly. Indeed, it's not like the old days where working in a big company meant security. If he wanted to try something, now was the best time while he was young and energetic. So, what do you want to do? I support whatever decision you make, but can you tell me what it is? I asked Yosef. Even though the economy was in a slump, our company was still stable and performing well. I wanted to hear what Yosef was willing to give up for his job, and I wanted to support him as a business partner too.
I want to open a bookstore,
Yosef said, surprising me again. I had assumed he was interested in starting an internet business. Seeing my astonished face, Yosef continued.
With remote work and online shopping, people don't interact as much anymore, right? But I think choosing books in person is important. I want to create a space where book lovers can gather, have an event space to discuss recommended books and encounter new knowledge. What do you think?
His eyes sparkled as he spoke with childlike enthusiasm, and I couldn't oppose him. Indeed, recent years have seen an increase in remote meetings, and some tasks can now be done from home. While it's true that almost everything can be obtained without visiting actual stores, encounters with new things have become rarer. And there are things you can only understand by meeting in person or touching with your hands. In a world focusing on online shopping, I thought this might be an opportunity. That sounds great! Really great! Can I help, please? I had my doubts at first, but my mind was made up. I was determined to support Yosef no matter what. As the year-end approached and Christmas songs began to fill the streets, Yosef and I submitted our resignation letters to the company. Naturally, our bosses tried to retain us. We agreed to stay until the end of the year for the handover, anticipating a business start to the new year. Early in the new year, Yosef and I started looking for a location for our business, visiting various real estate agents. Near the station was convenient but expensive. Even older properties demanded surprisingly high rents. Still, we narrowed down a few options and continued our real estate search. While I was visiting potential book suppliers I found online and negotiating deals, I suddenly received a call on my mobile phone. Hesitant at first at the unfamiliar number, I answered, thinking it might be a new business opportunity. Hello? The news from the other end was like a blow to the head. Yosef had been in an accident and was taken to the hospital. My world went dark, and I felt the blood drain from my face. I rushed to the hospital, where Yosef was under visitor restrictions. Are you his wife? A nurse asked. The emergency doctor will speak to you about his condition. Please come this way. I followed her into the consultation room, where a young doctor was examining x-rays and test data with a grave expression.
Oh, sorry, I didn't notice you. Please, have a seat.
As instructed by the doctor, I sat down. My heart racing and filled with anxiety, the doctor told me.
It seems he was hit by a car that veered onto the sidewalk. He has fractured ribs and bleeding in the skull, and he's currently unconscious. We're administering medication to stop the bleeding, but it's dangerous if it doesn't stop. We're doing our best, but please be prepared for the worst.
At that moment, my mind went blank, unable to comprehend what was happening. I didn't even know where I was. Why did this have to happen? Tears streamed down my cheeks. It was so unfair. Just as we were about to take a new step forward, I sat on a hospital bench praying fervently for Yosef's safety. I was so absorbed that I didn't notice my mobile phone ringing continuously in my bag, nor did I check the call history. Unable to stay at the hospital overnight, I spent the next 3 days going back and forth, forgetting about sleep and food. I couldn't sleep or eat when I returned to the apartment, completely overwhelmed. The bleeding in his brain stopped on the second day, and the visitation restriction was lifted, but Yosef remained unconscious. Please wake up. On the evening of the third day, Yosef's eyes faintly opened. It's me, Michelle. Do you understand? I asked, crying. Michelle, what happened?
Where am I?
Yosef seemed still confused. We're in the hospital. You were hit by a car and brought here, but I'm so glad you're alive. I cried out loud. Relieved momentarily, I noticed my phone ringing in the bag. Wait a minute. I need to take this call. I told Yosef and stepped out into the hallway to a place where I wouldn't disturb other patients. The call ended before I could answer, but checking the call history I saw it was from Yosef's parents' house. Not just one call, but several calls had come in since Yosef was admitted. I told them not to contact us. What do they want now? I realized how exhausted I was not to have noticed the continuous ringing. Hey, there were several calls from your parents' house. I didn't notice until now. What should we do? I asked Yosef upon returning to the room. Still dazed.
I wonder what it is. Given my condition, could you call them back for me?
Yosef said, reluctantly, but knowing Yosef couldn't move, and that something might have happened given they had never contacted us before. I felt the need to check. After all, they were Yosef's parents, so I called them back from my mobile phone.
Hey, why are you ignoring calls from us at such a critical time?
Olivia's loud voice on the phone was piercing. I'm sorry, but it's not like we were ignoring you on purpose. Yosef had an accident. I began to explain timidly.
Why didn't you contact us about such a serious matter until now?
Olivia yelled again. She was the one who said not to get involved except for necessities.
How is Yosef? Is he all right?
Olivia asked, apparently concerned about her son. He was unconscious, but he just regained consciousness a little while ago. I replied. Olivia sounded relieved.
Oh, good. What would I do if I lost Yosef too?
Yosef as well? Her words struck me oddly. Wait, did something happen? I asked again. Suddenly, Olivia's tone changed.
Dad collapsed and passed away. That's why I've been calling.
She broke down crying on the other end of the phone, a stark contrast to her earlier demeanor. I see. I'm sorry for your loss. I'll let Yosef know, I said before hanging up. Who was on the phone, Mom? Yosef asked as I returned to the room. It was hard to tell Yosef, who had just regained consciousness. Actually, Robert, your father, he collapsed and passed away on the day you were brought here from the accident. That's why there were so many missed calls. I disclosed with determination. I see. I can't move yet. I'm sorry, but Michelle, could you visit home for me? Yosef asked with a sorry look. I know it's hard after what they said, but I'm concerned too. Please. I couldn't refuse Yosef's earnest request, so I decided to visit his parents' house. My fingers trembled as I pressed the doorbell.
Yes, I'm opening the door. Just wait a moment.
Olivia's voice made me tense up. After hearing the lock turn, she said weakly,
Please come in.
Excuse me, I said, stepping through the door. Yosef is still in the hospital and can't move, so I've come on his behalf. After bowing politely, Olivia led me to where photographs and memorabilia were displayed. This is from Yosef and me. I handed Olivia a condolence card and bowed towards Robert's photo. I'm sorry for your loss. Once discharged, Yosef and I will visit again. For today, this will be all. As I was about to leave,
I heard you both quit your jobs, right? What do you plan to do now?
Olivia asked. And then, my husband's company is struggling financially. I tried calling Yosef's company to ask for some financial help, only to find out you both had quit. It's a good opportunity for Yosef to take over and help out. Can you tell him that for me? Olivia pleaded. Despite having previously insulted me for being an older, charmless woman, she now needed my help. I'll pass the message, but I don't know what Yosef will say, I replied. Olivia snapped.
Why? He used to be such a caring son. It's your fault, isn't it? You must have deceived him.
Again, she started berating me. I said I would tell him. Yosef resigned to pursue his own dreams. I just want to support him. But if he decides to give up on his dream to take over Robert's company, I'll leave him, I stated. Olivia then broke down.
Then leave now. Without you, he'll surely come back,"
she cried while sitting on the floor. Unfortunately, I have no intention of leaving him. I don't think he'd consider taking over the company, regardless of the situation. Excuse me. I left, having had enough. I relayed Olivia's request to Joseph.
I never intended to take over in the first place, so that's impossible,
Joseph said simply. He had grown up being told to succeed Robert and was tired of it.
I thought they had given up when I chose a completely different career after graduating. There are plenty of ways to save a business, aren't there?
He had a point. It's company, after all. They should just pass it on to someone who can properly handle it. Maybe they wanted their own child to run it because it's the company they created? I couldn't help but feel a little sympathy, though not an agreement. When Joseph visited his parents' house after being discharged, Olivia repeated her request, but he firmly refused.
My life is not my parents' life. I have to follow my own dream,
Joseph told me, resolute. Eventually, Robert's company was officially dissolved and the business was taken over by another company. Olivia managed to avoid selling the family house and still lives there alone. Joseph and I are preparing to open our bookstore, setting up the interior and signage. It will surely become a gathering place for book lovers in the neighborhood. And in my belly, a new life was growing. Recently, I've been thinking of creating a space where parents and children can enjoy picture books together.